Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world, talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. Alrighty, it's Combine Week. I want to take a look at some of the top prospects from the different position groups that are going to be working out together. First up is going to be the defensive linemen, edge rushers, and linebackers. But before we get started, I want to make sure everyone please subscribe to the channel. It's the best way you can support this channel. And it's free. All right. It's the least you can do without doing absolutely nothing. All right, guys, let's get started. First on the list is one of the best defensive line prospects we've seen in a long time, Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Graham is an extremely versatile defensive tackle. He can kill it in one gap or two gap schemes. He's got it all. He's got the size, he's got the explosive power, he's got the technical skill. He can do it all. He has a wrestling background, and you can see it pop out on tape. He's tough to move. He just throws guys to the side, and he's always around the football. Mason Graham is a high floor, high ceiling prospect. He's got all pro written all over him. If you can refine his pass rushing skills a little bit so he doesn't have to rely just on brute strength and hand technique, he can be a big problem, and a big problem right away for any team that takes him. He's probably going to go in the top 5 to top 7 range. If he's available at 8, I will be extremely surprised. Next up is Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. This is another high floor, high ceiling prospect. Again, power, technique, relentless aggression. This guy's violent at the line of scrimmage. Now, his arms are a little bit shorter. He needs to get a little bit more refined pass rushing skills, but this guy definitely can become one of the elite interior defensive linemen by a second contract. So don't expect huge things from him right away, but watch him pop out on tape. If you're a little bit of a slower interior offensive lineman, no one's going to eat your lunch and do it every single play. This guy just does not stop. He's a borderline late first round, early second round pick, but man, any team that gets this guy is going to get a huge boost to their defensive line. All right, up next is Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. I don't know how anyone ran the ball against Michigan this year because Kenneth Grant was an absolute beast. He uses leverage and he's an explosive athlete. And he did it. He played his best against the best competition in college. Just do me a favor. If you want to take a look at it, take a look at his tape against Ohio State. He absolutely demolished that interior offensive line the entire game. One of the big reasons why Michigan was able to upset Ohio State this last season. Early in downs, he can definitely shoot the gap and be a run stuffer, but he also has like NFL caliber club moves and swim moves that he uses all the time. He's always in the backfield, whether it's against the pass or against the rush. Just ask Nebraska or USC what he did to him last season. He absolutely demolished them. Anyone who gets Kenneth Grant is going to get a player with a high motor, a high floor, and a high ceiling. This guy's an absolute beast. He's going to be a great addition to any defensive line in the NFL. All right, out of Oregon, Derek Harmon is up next. Now, Derek Harmon's got a super quick first step. As a 3 technique, he's going to shoot the gap, and he's going to beat a lot of interior offensive linemen to the point. He's a game wrecker in that respect, where he's always in the backfield. He's always having to make teams adjust their schemes around where he's going to be. And man, this guy's all over tape. Harmon pretty much got by on physical tools. He didn't really start to refine his technique until his last year at Oregon. But man, those physical tools were plenty. In the NFL, probably won't go as far as it did in college, but as long as he keeps adding to his technique, I can see him being a solid starter in the NFL for a lot of years. This guy's going to be a great addition to any defense. Next, we have Tyreek Williams from Ohio State. Tyreek Williams is really a freak, okay? He's huge, he's powerful, but he's got feet like a defensive back. He's very nimble, he's really quick on his feet, he can shoot gaps, he's tough to block anywhere on the field. Now, he needs to kind of refine his technique a little bit as far as his hand placement and some of his pass rushing moves, but as far as raw talent, this guy's got it all over the place. He went through a little bit of a physical transformation at Ohio State, kind of changing his body a little bit and making himself look a little bit more athletic, but looks doesn't matter. Don't be fooled. This guy is a beast, and if he's on your defensive line, he's going to be productive. Next, out of South Carolina is TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders, man, he pops out on tape. His highlight reel is amazing. The issue is the whole game isn't a highlight reel. Although he has really strong hands and quick first step, he can shoot the gap and he can break up plays before they even happen. He tends to wear down over the end of the game. And if you're consistently double teaming him, he tends to kind of fade away and kind of disappear a little bit. Now, in the NFL, he could be more of a rotational piece to begin with before he kind of grows into the position and maybe works on his endurance a little bit, but it's definitely needed, along with maybe a little bit of refining in his pass rushing skills. Other than that, this guy's got it all. He has really good raw tools. If he gets on the right team, who's able to develop them, TJ Sanders is going to be a beast in the NFL. Up next is Alfred Collins out of University of Texas. If you need an absolutely massive run stuffer, Collins is your guy. Collins is extremely powerful and a very quick first step. On top of that, he processes information really quickly, so he knows exactly where to go to find the ball. This guy is a tackle for loss machine. Now, his issue is his pass rushing skills really aren't the greatest. He kind of gets by on power and a first step. If you're able to kind of weather that, you pretty much got him locked up for the most part. So, if he wants to be one of the top tiered interior defensive linemen in the league, he's going to have to work on his pass rushing skills or else just be a 2-down lineman. But the 2-down lineman that he is right now is going to be pretty good. If you need a run stuffer, Alfred Collins is your guy. Up next is Deion Walker from Kentucky. Deion Walker is a massive dude. And with that mass comes a little bit of, issues with stamina. He was his best when he was like, I don't know, maybe 20 to 25 snaps a game, but those 20 to 25 snaps were all disruptive. If he gets to the right team, he's going to be able to grow over time and hopefully become one of the best defensive interior linemen in the NFL. This guy has power to spare, a quick first step, and a relentless motor while he's in the game. The issue is his motor runs out pretty quick. So get him in a little bit better shape, refine his technique a little bit because the raw tools and the frame is there. This guy can be huge. But for right now, if you need a guy to kind of play a couple of snaps here or there in the rotation, this is your guy. Up next out of Virginia Tech is Aeneas Peoples. Okay, Aeneas Peoples was like overlooked coming out of high school. So, I can see him really being a lot better than scouts are thinking he is coming out of college. He's done it before. He can do it again. As of right now, he's one of the better technicians as far as pass rushing goes in the interior defensive line. If you're able to place him in a situation where he just pins his ears back and moves forward, looks for the ball, that's going to be his best for right now. He's going to be a rotational guy initially, but as he grows into position, he can definitely become much better, an all-around player on the defensive front. He needs to get a little bit more stout and needs to learn how to kind of rush through those double teams a little bit better and learn how to locate the ball a little bit easier. But if he can do that, he can turn into one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. All right, last defensive tackle is Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. This dude is like a true boom or bust, okay? He had great tape, but then he also had some really bad tape. The issue is the bad tape is just the same stuff over and over again. He had some issues with double teams. He had issues with like zone schemes, and he just kind of looked lost at times. But the size to speed ratio that he has, this dude is a monster. He can move. He's got good technique when he decides to use it. But man, his issues do seem very coachable. If he can get to the right team that has patience with him, this guy can turn in 2 or 3 years into a solid starter in the NFL with maybe Pro Bowl aspirations. All right, the cream of the crop in the edge rushers is Abdul Carter from Penn State. This guy's got it all. Think of like a young Von Miller / Micah Parsons / whoever's really good at being quick and powerful and can bend an edge and can disrupt the quarterback and can disrupt a whole offense. Yeah, that's Abdul Carter. He's probably one of the top 1 or 2 players in the entire draft. This guy has superstar potential written all over him, and whenever you put on tape, it shows every single play. Now, he's only been a true edge for 1 season, which is like pretty scary because he's by far and away the best edge in this entire group. He's only been doing it full-time for 1 season. He was an off-the-ball linebacker, kind of part-time as well previously, but man, just thinking about how he can grow in the position with some better coaching and more experience, Abdul Carter is definitely going to be a beast in the NFL. James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee is up next, and man, this guy is a physical freak. He's quick, he's tall, he's long, he's fast, he can get to the ball easily. This guy was the guy coming last season. Everyone thought that James Pierce Jr. was going to be the number 1 overall pick, but then Abdul Carter came along and just kind of exploded onto the scene. But it doesn't take away from James Pierce Jr.'s ability. This guy can also be a game wrecker. He needs a little bit of refinement in his pass rushing moves and his pass rushing technique. He's been getting by pretty much on his raw talent and physical abilities, but it's plenty for now. In the NFL, it may be a little bit different. He may have a little bit of a difficult transition to be as dominant as he was in college, but I mean, I think it's already written. This guy with a little bit of coaching and a little bit of time is going to be one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. Okay, another edge rusher with size, length, and speed combination is Mikael Williams out of Georgia. They're just making freak after freak after freak now. It's ungodly, okay? Mikael Williams in any other draft would be a top 3, top 5 pick, but unfortunately, there's Abdul Carter, there's Mason Graham, there's Travis Hunter, there's James Pierce Jr. There's a lot of guys out there, but man, it doesn't take away from his abilities. This guy can really bend an edge. He's quick off the ball. If you make one half of a misstep, he's by you and he's causing havoc. His technique is pretty raw. If you're going to draft this kid, you're going to have to be patient with them, okay? But the physical tools are there. The issue that you're going to have is you see the eye-popping skills and you see the eye-popping plays. Every now and then you want to have a little bit more consistency, but you got to stay patient with them. He got by mostly on his athletic ability and his raw talent. If you can slow him down a little bit with his technique, get him a little bit more technical with his moves, his physical attributes will take over from there. I think it's going to be a great fit for anyone who has maybe a little bit of a deeper defensive line who just wants to add some depth initially. If you can do that and stay patient, Mikael Williams is going to pay big dividends going forward. All right, up next is one of my favorite prospects, and this is why I love the combine. Mike Green out of Marshall. A smaller school, but this guy's got big talent. He's a little bit lighter. He's only about 250 pounds, so he could be a kind of a liability against the rush. Think of like a Malcolm Kuntz for the Raiders, right? He came into the NFL, was a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, was a little bit rougher against the run. But, I mean, as his last season that he played in 2023, man, he really showed that he can set the edge and also get after the passer. Mike Green is a guy that can go ahead and make it happen with his physical tools and ability. He does have some pass rushing skills and some nice technique. You need to refine that a little bit more, teach him a couple of more moves, some counter moves, put some weight on the guy, for God's sakes. If you can do that, you're going to have a steal probably in the late first to early second round with Mike Green out of Marshall. Up next out of Texas A&M is Nick Scroton. Now, Nick Scroton is a little bit different from some of these other guys. He's not quite the physical freak that the other guys were, but he is still a physical freak. He has a lot better pass rushing skills and technique going into the NFL than the other guys on this list. The thing is with him is he needs to be a little bit better against the run, learn how to set that edge a little bit. Now, he's really young. He's only 20 years old, okay? But his natural ability and his strength and his just knack for using really good technique is going to be a big help for him going into the NFL against some of these bigger offensive linemen. He's not going to be able to get by on just athletic ability. It is really good, but his main claim to fame is his technique and his ability to pass rush. He was a kind of a designated pass rusher his first couple of years in college, but he showed a little bit of an ability to improve against the run. If that arc of improvement still continues into the pros, look for him to be a Pro Bowl caliber player in a few years. All right, when you think Landon Jackson from Arkansas, I think like Alex Highsmith. They're kind of a similar guys, similar body types, and man, these guys are both strong, athletic, and explosive. A lot of these other guys on this list were a little bit iffy against the run and great pass rushers. That's not Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson can do it all. He plays the run well, and he's a good pass rusher. He needs to get a little bit quicker off the line and also work on his hands and his pass rushing technique. But other than that, this kid's got it all. He's huge, he's quick, he's powerful, he has a nose for the ball, and he loves playing the run just as much as he loves playing the pass. If you can get him on your team and kind of go through the first couple seasons as an early down lineman, you're going to be able to reap the rewards once he starts becoming a better pass rusher in the NFL. It could happen a lot sooner than that, but I would say no more than the end of year 2 to year 3. He's going to be dominant against the pass and against the run. Shamar Stewart comes out of Texas A&M, and he reminds me of like a young Calais Campbell. He's a brute, right? He's a beast. He can play the run really well. He's got a nose for the ball. He knows where to go to cut off angles. He's good against playing against screens and things like that, but his pass rushing skills initially are going to need some help. He gets by mostly on athletic ability and lacks a little bit of technique. And also, when he gets tired, his technique tends to fail him a little bit too. But like Calais Campbell, who kept working on his technique and just was a huge man, this guy can make it happen too. Shamar Stewart can be a guy that can really round out a defensive line, initially being a rotational piece, going into a starter in a couple of years, and maybe even a Pro Bowler or all-pro level in about 3 or 4 years from now. This guy is going to be a good addition to any defense out there. Watch out for Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. All right, we all saw the game. We saw the sack, scoop, and score. It was like the three-part pass, right? You get the sack, you get the strip, and you get the scoop and score. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. This guy is a physical freak. He is a relentless motor guy. Now, a lot of times when we hear relentless motor, we think, okay, well, he's not that athletic because he's just kind of a try-hard type of guy, right? Not necessarily the case with Jack Sawyer. Now, I'm not putting him in the same caliber as some of the other guys on the top of this list, athletic-wise. Doesn't mean he's not athletic, okay? He's still going to be able to test really well, and his draft position is really going to depend on how he tests. What does he run? What are his splits, his shuttle time, stuff like that. If he can show a pretty decent time, he's going to be able to be an early day 2 pick. If not, look for a little bit later in round 3, maybe even slip into round 4. Who knows? But Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State is definitely a guy that can be a leader on your defense and who can be just as good against the pass as he is against the run. This guy has a nose for the ball, and he's got a head for leadership, but a great addition to any defense. All right, forgive me, Ole Miss fans, okay? I have to read this name. Princely Umanmielen. I think I got it right. Anyway, regardless of how you say his last name, you're going to be able to say it a lot because he just makes plays. He's a physical freak. You hear it all the time. These edge rushers are like, they're going crazy. Now, there's the Abdul Carters of the world who are a little bit shorter, but really quick and powerful. And then there's these guys. These just like super tall, 6'4", 6'5" guys, super long arms in the 260, maybe probably in the 270 range once the season starts. This guy's going to be a stud if he's in the right position. If you get him initially where he can just pin his ears back and rush the passer, he's going to be a little bit better for him. You need to refine his technique a little bit, make him a little bit stronger against the run. But Princely can become otherworldly if you get him out there in the right situation. You got to be a little bit patient with him because he has his raw tools, but he also makes a lot of mistakes. He can get fooled against misdirection, and he's not as quick identifying screens and stuff like that. But if you can get him to study his playbook a little bit better, get him a little bit more refined on his technique, you're going to have a Pro Bowl caliber player in a year or two. All right, the names just keep on coming, okay? So forgive me, Ohio State fans. JT Tuimoloau. I think I got it right. Anyway, this guy is just a beast, okay? He's really strong, he's really quick, and he doesn't stop. That's one thing about him, is his motor is just go, go, go. Great straight line power and closing burst to the ball. If you're in his sights and you have the ball in your hand, you're going to go down. The issue with him is that he's a little bit slower to react to misdirection. He's not quite as quick laterally as he is going forward. So he's going to have to learn how to identify things a little bit quicker and maybe get a little bit more nimble on his feet. But it's things that are definitely doable. The hand technique is there. He can do a little bit refining on the pass rushing skills, but against the run, he's a beast. He's a mauler. He takes offensive linemen and he throws them to the side. This guy's got super powerful hands, and he's really quick with the nose for the ball. Definitely be a huge addition to any defensive line. All right, on to the linebackers. First on the list out of Georgia is Jalen Walker. Now, Jalen Walker, he's kind of like an in-between guy, right? He can be a stack linebacker, but he can also be an edge rusher, and he's equally good at both. The thing is with him, he's a little bit smaller. He needs to get stronger. He relies too much right now on speed and a quick first step. When offensive linemen get their hands on him, it's kind of tough for him to shed blocks, which is kind of tough for a linebacker, but he's quick and he is strong enough to kind of dip out of the way of some of these blocks and make plays happen. He is, I think, head and shoulders above the other linebackers in this class. Couple of years in a strength conditioning program in the NFL level, put some mass on him without him losing a lot of his first step quickness and speed, and you're going to see a Pro Bowl linebacker out of this guy. Man, in the future, if he gains a little bit more weight, you can even put him at an edge most of the time. Either way, he's pretty good against the pass as well with a lot of pass breakups. The thing you want to have with this guy is you want to have a plan around him. You want to have a lot of guys around him to take up some of that space so you can have him focusing on one thing, is moving forward and going after the ball. Jalen Walker could be a great addition to any linebacking core in the NFL. Okay. When you talk about like a dynamic, versatile linebacker, that's Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. He can play anywhere. He can be Tampa 2. He can be a stack backer. He can do delayed blitzes. This guy can do it all. He can cover really well too. The thing is a lot of the linebackers that are coming out into the draft, especially this season, are much better against the pass. It's pretty much a must nowadays with all the tight ends that we have out there and a lot of the running backs being able to run routes the way they are too. The linebackers had to improve, and Jahad Campbell definitely is a player that can do it all. His football IQ is through the roof. He identifies plays and breaks them up before the offense can even get started. The one thing he needs to work on is shedding blocks. Now, with his ability to be kind of a do-everything linebacker, he's a little bit smaller. He's susceptible to getting blocked and stuck on blocks by these bigger offensive linemen. If he can be a little bit more savvy and learn some technique to kind of get away from those hands of the offensive lineman, he's going to be probably as close as you're going to get to a perfect prospect at linebacker. Next is a guy that I really like out of South Carolina, Demetrius Knight Jr. Now, when you think of like a typical Mike linebacker, that's Demetrius Knight Jr. He's got like elite speed for a linebacker. I think he ran like 4.6 or something like that. And at 245 pounds, man, that's a freight train coming at you. He's long, he's big, he's fast, he's strong. He gets off of blocks well, and he actually plays the pass pretty well too. The one thing about Demetrius Knight Jr. is, although he can lay a big hammer on the hits, he does miss a lot of tackles. I think it's because he goes for all or nothing. And, when it's all or nothing, you either make a highlight reel play by tackling a guy or make a highlight reel play by letting the guy go and getting 30 yards behind you. If you can get a little bit of refinement, go to the right situation with good linebacker coaches, good defensive coaches, slow him down a little bit and be able to make the sure tackle instead of the blow-up hit every single time, you're going to get a really strong starting Mike linebacker for years to come. Initially, he's going to be a great performer in special teams. He's going to be a guy to get probably in the late second day, early third day in the draft. Up next is Barrett Carter out of Clemson. Now, this is one of the hybrid guys I was talking about. A lot of these linebackers had to become much better against the pass because of the tight ends and running backs out there. And Barrett Carter is probably one of the better coverage linebackers in this draft. That's like his specialty. He goes out there and he's almost like another safety or even sometimes a slot corner out there. I don't care what conference you play in college. The NFL is just a different animal. You get the best of the best. So these offensive linemen are all big, fast, quick, powerful, and mean. Don't forget that last part, because when they latch onto you, you're in trouble. That's the issue here. When Barrett Carter gets latched onto, he finds it really difficult to get off that block. He's going to need to really improve on that to be a consistent starting linebacker in the NFL. For right now, he's going to be great in sub packages against the pass and also on special teams. But look for him to become a solid contributor in a year or two. Up next at UCLA is Carson Schwetzinger. Now, Schwetzinger is kind of a developmental weak side linebacker. He's really good at identifying plays and knifing through blocks and making plays in the backfield, but he needs to be stronger at the point of attack. A lot of times what he does is he kind of lets his assignment go because he wants to dip underneath a block or kind of blow up a play. When it doesn't work, it's a big play downfield because his assignment is left unguarded. Now, he does have a lot of potential because he's a solid tackler in special teams. He could be a developmental guy for a few years and really pay big dividends moving forward. Think of like a Van Ginkel, right? Van Ginkel was kind of like, a special teams guy, but then he came on really well late. That's what you see in Schwetzinger. He's going to be able to play right away on special teams and maybe in sub packages or a rotational guy, but don't expect too much from him as far as playing on any downs right away. If he continues to move forward and continue the trajectory he has of improvement, he's going to be able to play and be a solid contributor in a year or two. All right, up next is Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. Now, you talk about coverage linebackers. He's probably the second best coverage linebacker in this class. The one issue with Chris Paul Jr. is he's a little bit smaller. So he has the same problem that a lot of these linebackers have, is shedding blocks. That's a big problem in the NFL because these running backs just need like a quarter of a second and they're by you. So he could be a really solid player in sub packages and like a dime or sub package where he can go out there and just cover an area or a specific player out of the backfield. The issue you're going to get into is with draw plays and screens, he doesn't handle mobile linemen very well. If you can get your hands on him, it's going to be pretty tough for Chris Paul Jr. to break that block and go ahead and make the tackle. So he's going to need to refine that technique a little bit. He's going to be a solid contributor on special teams initially and in sub packages against the pass. But if he can kind of put on a little bit of weight, without losing too much speed and agility, he can be a solid contributor and a rotational linebacker moving forward. All right, up next out of Oklahoma is Danny Stutzman. Now, Danny Stutzman, he has the size, he has the speed, and he has a technique to play in the NFL. The issue is right now is his coverage skills aren't all that great. Now, he made some improvements his last season. He came back his senior season, and he made some improvements in pass coverage. But if he wants to be a productive, do-it-all linebacker in the NFL, he's going to have to get much better at that. This is not just a run first and second down type of league and throw on third down. If you're a linebacker on the field, you have to be able to cover no matter what down it is. And the issue with Stutzman is he gets a little bit lost in coverage sometimes, kind of lets his eyes focus on the backfield a little bit too much, and he loses his assignment. Also, he gets a little bit of an issue with quicker players like smaller tight end H-backs or running backs out of the backfield. They can get the angle on him pretty quick, and if he's not right in front of him, Stutzman may not catch up to him now. He's not slow. It just takes him a little bit of time to get moving. Maybe it's a technique thing. Maybe it's just something where he needs to see plays a little bit more. But if he continues this arc of improvement, look for Stutzman to be a solid contributor in special teams and potentially a rotational linebacker. All right, up next out of Oregon is Jeffrey Besa. Now, Jeffrey Besa, he's, again, in this kind of line of coverage first linebackers. He's going to be a good sub-package guy, special teams contributor, initially moving into the NFL. The thing is he does have some value as a blitzer. He's been shown that he can blitz pretty well from his position. The problem is he gets stuck on blocks pretty easily. Now, if you can work on that and kind of get him to shed blocks a little bit quicker, he can be a good rotational piece for you moving forward. The value that he brings in special teams, on sub packages, and blitzing is going to be a reason why he can be a solid contributor probably within the first or second year in the NFL. Now, he does have an ankle injury he's dealing through, and we're going to see how serious it is in the combine when he goes through his medicals. But if that checks out okay, he should be a lock to get drafted this season. All right, last on the list is Cody Simon, linebacker out of Ohio State. Now, you want to talk about raw skills, that's Cody Simon. Athletic ability, versatility, all the abilities, right? He's got it all. The issue is his technique isn't the greatest. So he can get out there and play an area and zone coverage, but if you ask him to play a little bit of man, his coverage skills aren't the best. He does get fooled a little bit on misdirection and gets himself out of position because when he gets blocked by a lineman, it's going to be tough for him to kind of shed that block. But he's super athletic. He's got a good nose for the ball. He just needs to see more tape. He needs to see more snaps and get used to what he's seeing and trust his eyes a little bit more. If he can do that, he's going to transition from a special team standout to probably a rotational linebacker in the NFL. All right, guys, that's day one of the on-field drills in the 2025 Combine. You got defensive line, edge rushers, and linebackers. Let me know what you think about this video. Comment and like below. Go ahead and please, everybody, subscribe to this channel. It's a great way for you to support this channel, and it's absolutely free. It's the bare minimum you can do to help this channel besides doing absolutely nothing. All right, guys, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation, thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button, drop a comment, make sure to subscribe, and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.